Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and welcome to part 9 of my Aki Kaurismaki season. Today we're going to talk about Take Care of Your Scarf, Tatjana from 1994. Again, this is in the Artificial Eye Blu-ray box set, which I'm kind of doing this season on. I actually saw this film years ago on BBC Two in the UK, Moviedrome, which I've mentioned several times, hosted by Alex Cox and later Mark Cousins. And so many of the films that I now love and adore, I first saw on Moviedrome. So this one I don't have too many memories of that Moviedrome experience, but watching it again, it is absolutely wonderful. It's perhaps shocking that it's only 62 minutes, but Kaurismaki kind of says more in those 62 minutes than other filmmakers telling a similar story would tell in 2 hours. So it's black and white. At times it's very film noir, even though it's not a film noir subject. Again, it's more about character and wonderful little moments that, again, depending on your sense of humour, you're either going to find really funny or not. It stars a bunch of Kaurismaki regulars, including Kati Autinen as Tatjana, who is a girl from Estonia, and Matti Pellenpää, who plays Reno, who's a mechanic and a rocker. It's nice to see he still uses Suave hair products, which we've seen in earlier Kaurismaki films. But we're introduced to the first character, Valto, again played by a Kaurismaki regular. Apologies for not having his name. And he is working a sewing machine with his mother. We find out later he is a bit of a coffee drinker, which is a major plot point. Yep, it's that kind of film where drinking coffee is a plot point. So his cup is empty, his flask is empty, he goes to check the kettle's empty, the pot of coffee is empty, the packets of coffee in the cupboard is empty, so he's enraged, and his mother says he can't get any coffee until the following day. So he's so enraged, we see a close-up of his fist clenching because he can't get any more coffee. So he locks his mother in a cupboard and takes money out of her purse, and he buys cigars and buys himself some coffee, and he gets his car repaired. That's where he meets Reno, and it's hard to tell whether they're actually friends or strangers. I mean, Reno takes the money for repairing the car off him, and then they go for a drive to a barn where there's some rock and roll being played. Again, it's kind of wonderful. There's like a mirror outside the barn for guys to check their hair. And then they meet 2 women, Tatjana and Claudia. One who's Estonian but speaks a little Finnish, and the other one is Russian. And they take up with Valto and Reno and ask them for a lift to the port because they're returning to Tallinn in Estonia. So again, we have a mention of Estonia, which is a running kind of theme in Kaurismaki films. And that's basically the plot. And over this period, um, kind of feelings appear between the four characters. But again, this is Kaurismaki, so it's my kind of romantic film, which is pretty much no romance in it at all. Not a lot of dialogue, but again, Kaurismaki manages to bring out those little character beats without having screeds and screeds of dialogue. And I won't spoil the ending once they get to the port. It is wonderful, and it's also wonderful when we find out the mother's journey, and the film kind of goes full circle back to where we met Valto at the start of the film. There's so many wonderful character beats. Obviously, Valto loves his coffee. You know, there's a portable coffee maker that gets fitted into the car, which is like a big thing. Reno likes his alcohol. He tells an anecdote about how he was on holiday and they had a bus full of vodka, but everybody wanted to go and see ruins. And it's like, we've got ruins at home and we've got a bus full of vodka. Music, again, is an important part of the film. There's some good old-fashioned rock and roll in it. And then again, in kind of wonderful, offbeat, odd Kaurismaki, there's like an accordion and an old guy singing at a hotel that they go and stay in, which is wonderfully odd, but again, it has its kind of charm to it. This is a film that has complexity, but the complexity is expressed through simplicity. Again, wonderful character beats. Like near the end of the film, the women want to give their kind of thanks to the guys for giving them a lift, so they buy them like teas and sandwiches, but the sandwiches are like the smallest sandwiches in the world. There's nice little character things where the guys are standing looking in a shop window at wrenches, and there's a whole conversation about wrenches, which is quite wonderful. And Klavdia, the Russian woman, there's a great line about how the Finnish guys, there's a phrase that's make haste slowly, which you could argue kind of sums up Kaurismaki, or one of the things about Kaurismaki films. It's like, make haste slowly. Again, the film at 62 minutes is like so economic. Bresson would be proud. But again, it doesn't need to be 90 minutes long. Don't know whether that was budget or whether Kaurismaki just knew it didn't need to be like 90 minutes long. Again, similar stories have been made by lesser directors that would take an hour and a half or 2 hours to tell the same story. It's just a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful film. It has, again, that kind of line of melancholy through it, which I love about Kaurismaki. Again, it has that feeling of, poverty or the working poor. These are not well-off people. They get their pleasure by going to barns and listening to rock and roll. It's just wonderful. It's a perfect example of, all the excessive stuff in these kind of films is just stripped away because you don't need it. And again, it's how to make an economic film which still hits the right beats, and you still care about the characters even though there is a distance between them. I mean, it's rare that a film or a road movie with two men and two women and there's absolutely no kind of sexual chemistry. At one point, Valto is more interested in turning up a radiator than Clavdia sitting next to him. Again, if you're used to Kaurismaki, you should really like this film. If you're coming in cold to Kaurismaki, it might be a bit of a culture shock. Obviously, the length as well of the film might be a little bit of a culture shock. But again, it's just so many little notes and character moments that I'm not going to go into because they're just an absolute pleasure when they happen. And just this running joke about Valto being obsessed with coffee and drinking coffee as much as possible. At one point, it's obvious he's got the shakes from like too much coffee. It's just a wonderful little film. Again, this is not, Kaurismaki's not making blockbusters here. He's not launching a franchise of Take Care of Your Scarf Titania 4. It's just a wonderful, simple, linear tale, told beautifully, shot exquisitely at times, full of Kaurismaki regulars, wonderful faces, and it's well worth checking out if you haven't already. So thanks very much for watching part 9 of my Kaurismaki season. I think I'll probably follow up with part 10. And again, let me know what you think of Take Care of Your Scarf Titania. Have you seen it? Should it have been longer? Or is it just perfect at 62 minutes? I think it's probably perfect at 62 minutes, personally. And hopefully, like I say, you'll join me for the next part of this series. So thanks so much for watching. This is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, saying cheerio.